This whole business literally started on a napkin table drawing on my friend Dione's kitchen table.
And at the end of the day, what Drew and company told me is when our rifles leave the shop, we guarantee they will shoot sub-quarter inch with our hand-loaded ammunition that we develop. That the rifle will shoot 0.5 inch with factory ammunition. That it'll shoot different bullet weights without significantly affecting the accuracy. And it'll not fail to cycle.
And got it down to where we're coming in with a full-bodied rifle that is averaging 6 pounds unscoped.
He sent us an email with these 2 pictures of these just killer groups. And he said, these are the 2 best groups I ever shot in my life, and I shot them back to back with your gun.
I'm the proud owner of that brand new AllTerra Mountain Shadow Carbon in 308.
Actually have the ability to control our supply chain, and we're building a product that's better than everybody else in the market.
I am excited to announce that we have partnered with the Outdoorsmans in Fountain Hills, Arizona. They can provide all of your optics needs along with some of the best machine tripods and mounting accessories in the business. Swarovski, Zeiss, Leica, Leupold, binoculars, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, you name it. They can provide it, and at the industry's most competitive prices. They are offering our listeners an exclusive offer on all Outdoorsman's manufactured products such as packs, tripods, tripod heads, and other gear they manufacture. At checkout, type in the discount code RNA15, that is RNA15, and you'll receive a one-time 15% off your order. Please go to outdoorsmans.com and use the discount code today. Thank you for the support.
So I'm going to kick this off. So how many engineers do we have at the table here? 1, 2. Okay. So there's a little bit of brain power at this table, which can be concerning sometimes because you never know where these conversations can go. But, the optimist says the glass is half full, right? And what's the pessimist say?
Half empty.
Glass is half empty. What's the engineer say?
Full enough.
The glass is twice as big as it should be.
Nice.
So that's how we'll tee up this conversation. So we're coming to you live from Boise, Idaho. We're here with our friends at recently rebranded AllTerra Arms. So what we'll kind of do is we'll go around and we'll do just brief introductions of everyone on the podcast today. And excited to be here. We got a busy weekend planned. We're going to be doing some shooting. One of our guests here on the line just recently picked up a 308 branded here at Altera, so he's going to be firing some rounds through that this weekend. So excited to be here, and looking forward to catching up with this group. Drew's no stranger to the podcast. I think we've done at least 2 or 3 podcasts in the past, so Drew's an old hand at this, but excited to be here. So maybe, Mike, do you want to go ahead and kick us off and tell us about you and your recent new journey here with Altera?
Sure. My name is Mike Sweebert. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at AllTerra Arms. And actually, my year anniversary just came up. So I've been
1 year already?
Been with them for a year. Man, how fast that has gone. Pretty crazy. So, I was really glad to come on board. It's kind of a little bit of a funny story. Drew's dad contacted me through a friend of a friend and said, "Hey, we've got a custom rifle company looking for some marketing help." And it's like, "Oh, another custom rifle company, just what the world needs, right?
Yeah,
Not interested." Sure. It's like, "Well, wait, we're different than everybody else." Never heard that before, right? And so actually, we kind of started off on just doing an evaluation of the company. And after I found out what they did and the fact that they are truly, truly unique and truly different, unlike unlike any other. I've been involved in the firearms industry for 40 years, and I thought there's nothing else that can be done to a bolt action rifle to improve it. And boy, was I wrong. And after I did that initial evaluation for the company, I learned what they were doing and what Drew and the team has put together. And I said, I want to be a part of this. So really, really happy to be here. Really glad to be here.
Yeah, and I remember, I think it's probably been about a year. I remember I was sitting in Paso Robles at the tire shop by Lowe's, and you called me, and you had told me kind of what you were talking about doing and asked me tell me about this axial precision. And so it was just interesting how that has been a year ago, but what's happened in the last year. It's amazing, the advancements and the things that have happened. So really cool. Thanks, Mike. To Mike's right would be Mr.
Ryan Newkirk.
Okay.
And I'm the proud owner of that brand new Altera Mountain Shadow Carbon in 308.
Tell us about that. Is that a shooter or what?
It's a bit of a sweet shooter. Yeah. About a year ago, my good buddy Mike Schwiebert mentioned that he was going to be doing some marketing for this company, and started telling me about all the technology involved in these rifles, and it kind of got the wheels turning. And then I managed to get my hands on a loaner for a Montana deer hunt a few months ago, and once I shot that rifle, I had to have one. And so we went through that whole process. First, legitimate custom rifle that I've ever ordered, and pretty pumped about it.
They might have said it was kind of a shooter coming out of the shop, huh? It was.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors.
Shot .11, I believe.
Oh, she's .11.
Yeah, and so obviously there's a little bit of the guy behind the gun. The best I've done so far with 5 shots at 100 yards is .56, and that's just with factory ammo. So I'm pretty pleased so far.
Yeah.
Just terrible results of .11 coming out of the gate. That's just terrible. Wow. Unbelievable.
Almost didn't get it back from our shooter.
Cool, Ryan. Well, great having you here, and it was fun coming up with you. We're looking forward to the weekend, and obviously going to have a fun shoot and a good time, so should be good. Okay, and to your right, we've got...
I'm Aaron Mikesell. I'm the engineering manager at AllTerra Arms, pretty much in charge of design, process of manufacturing, and do all the CNC programming.
Okay.
And pretty much head cook, bottle washer, you name it, I do it all.
Clean the bathrooms.
If it needs to be done,
Yeah.
it gets done.
Yeah, small company, sometimes you got to do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, cool, Aaron. Great having you, and nice to meet you. And to your right...
I'm Drew Foster, owner, founder of Altera, and previous to that, Axial Precision. And I am also chief cook and bottle washer, bathroom cleaner.
You make a good cook, I think. Good camp cook.
No.
He's learning. We're teaching him how to cook right now.
I am jack of all trades, master of none.
Okay,
so,
well, everyone needs one of those too.
yeah.
Cool. Great having you, Drew, and just, again, interested to hear more about how the company's advanced since we've connected. It's been a few years, and feels like this whole time lapse that's happened last year was like a time warp. You're right. I mean, it was like the whole pandemic hit. Next thing you know, we're here, and it's like, where did last year go, right? And here we're already almost in the second quarter of the year already. It's just bizarre how fast time goes. So, all right. And then lastly,
my name is Matt Kelso. I'm the production manager here at Altera. Do pretty much all the actual building of the guns, the metal work, inletting of the stocks. Do a little programming here too. So, yeah, it's been here a little over a year myself, and having a great time. Building some pretty sweet rifles. So,
I mean, based in Boise, Idaho, American made, like, it really doesn't get much better than that. I mean, when you think about it, for us transplants like me, I'm born and raised in Montana, but transplanted to California. It's like I want to get back to this part of the country at some point. It just timing and when that chance happens, and if people like you actually let me back into a state like this, I don't know. We'll see. We drive in from California and we see signs posted, "Californians stay out." So it's like not really welcoming, but no, it's a great place to be, and really neat company. It's cool to see the progress that you guys have had. So maybe we can talk about that. Maybe just talk a little bit about the history of what was Axial Precision and now AllTerra Arms, and just kind of give us the background.
Yeah, I can cover some of that for you.
Okay.
So this whole business literally started on a napkin table drawing on my friend Dione's kitchen table.
So it wasn't engineering paper, like it wasn't.
It was a napkin.
It was a napkin,
and
a lot of good stories started with a napkin.
The whole premise was we wanted to figure out what made one rifle really accurate and what made other rifles, like why were there hunting rifles and why were there really accurate rifles, and how do we actually blend the two to get something that's really reliable but shoots with bench rest accuracy. And so we did a bunch of digging, we did a bunch of experimenting, measuring, got a bunch of, bench rest actions and bench rest rifles, and basically just did our research. And the one thing we found is the tolerances and the machine work and the process for trying to make everything on a rifle, like tune the harmonics, make everything axially aligned with the bore of the barrel was the important part. But that same process to make everything axially aligned requires very tight tolerances, and that also tunes kind of the harmonics of the rifle. So we basically came up with a design where we had very tight tolerances, and we came up with a couple of patented designs that we later on patented that made sure that everything stayed together, made everything more of a harmonic or homogeneous unit. But when you go to cycle the rifle, it opened up into very loose tolerances, so you could clear dirt and grime and it would scrape debris out of the way that you encounter during hunting environments. So I had no idea that we'd be here, essentially 7 years after that date. I was actually planning on modifying existing receivers to reflect this technology and sell those. But we found out, okay, I don't like this design, but I like that design of different parts, firing pins, for instance. I don't like how the barrel's connected because it's a major weakness. So we got past the prototype part, and we're like, okay, I really like this design. It's working very well. It gets us the accuracy and the reliability that we want. But we can't really just modify that into somebody else's receiver because it had a whole bunch of other features we didn't like. So then we went down the road of outsourcing. We got engineers involved, patent attorneys involved. We are actually awarded a patent on prior, basically 160 years of prior art. Now we have 3 patents on it. And so anyway, we outsourced some of our parts to begin with, and realized that a lot of people didn't know how to actually make these parts to the tolerances that we want. So then we bought machines and hired some of the best programmers and machinists that we can find, and we've already introduced 2 of them, and some of the best gunsmiths that we could find for assembling and bedding and everything else. And then we realized, okay, now we got this awesome barreled action assembly that does whatever we want, but our bottleneck our stock. So then we're like, well, if it takes 6 months to order a stock, we're pretty sure I could design one that's better and shoots better and get it into full production in less time than it takes us to order one. So we went down that route and literally sitting there with Bondo and some other competitor's stock, adding Bondo and sanding in your garage until you had something that felt really good to everybody we could pass it out to. And then we modeled the whole thing, built a mold, and then found a amazing composites outfit that helped us prototype it. It took us 67 tries before we could figure out how to build a stock and have a grade A quality carbon fiber stock come out of the mold. And now we've got to the point where we've had to buy all the machinery, build all kinds of molds, and bring in composites guys because we can't keep up with the demand. And now we actually have the ability to control our supply chain, and we're building a product that's better than everybody else in the market.
I mean, the essence of the American dream is to have a company where you can, from start to finish, build something, right? Whether it's manufacturing, whether it's construction, whatever that is. But sitting here in the shop, it's pretty neat to see kind of where it starts, how it goes through the process, and all you guys touch a piece of that, right? And so maybe you could just talk through kind of, between Aaron or Matt, kind of your piece of this and how that's important in the process and what you guys do.
So I start the process with authorizing the design, saying this is the design we're going to make. At that point, we sit down and come up with our manufacturing process. We build our fixtures, we put everything together, and then prototype that part out and start developing that piece, a piece by piece basis. And that's where I stay, is kind of on the component side of things. I don't spend a lot of time on the actual rifle assembly side. I build each individual component and get that set up ready for these guys to use. And then at that point, basically, I'm handing those components or pieces or even sub-assemblies over to the guys on the floor doing the rest of the work, i.e. Matt, and is going to take that up from there. He's going to, pull a barrel blank. He's going to do the chamber work. He's going to match it to the action that's allotted for the build, and then inlet the stock for the build. Of course, that's after the stock's been built to order for that, because length of poles adjusted, if it's a right or left hand, what color features, because some of our colors are done in the mold, some are done out. And then once he's got his inlet done, then you're to the bedding process, final assembly, working out feeding, extraction issues. Once everything's checked off there, it's off to the range. We shoot every single Altera rifle, gets verified that it will meet our accuracy guarantee. So every single one gets a slight barrel break-in at least, if not full break-in, and then it's proven to shoot that accuracy before it goes out the door. So
it's pretty amazing to see a chunk of steel over there, raw chunk of steel that weighs 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds, whatever it is, 8 pounds, and then comes out this bolt action that weighs probably less than a pound. That's incredible, and that one machine that can do that. And so you're the brains behind all that stuff.
Well, I mean, short of the brains that came up with the design concepts, I mean, I've helped Drew over the last 4 years, fine tune some of that stuff, mostly for manufacturability. There was things that didn't need to be there that we could have done a little different to make it easier to make. But yeah, in the end, I sat down, figured out the processes it had to go through, and be able to repeat it day in and day out, and have the same thing come off that machine every day. So as it goes down the line, these guys aren't having to spend so much time figuring out what fits what. I mean, you can literally take one barrel off of one receiver and put it on another. Headspace is good. You're ready to go, whatever. So
yeah.
Or swap a bolt, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah. I think consistency and repeatability is probably what makes you guys more of a competitive advantage, because that is probably what sets you guys apart, is how consistent and repeatable your processes and systems are. And that goes for anything in manufacturing, right? If you can get defects out of the system, right, your process is much more efficient, and you're going to get more product out to people in a timely fashion. So that's cool. So it comes to that, and then comes to you, and so you're kind of working the finished product, kind of putting the rifle and assembling together.
Yeah, so we'll start. We get the order in from the customer. Generally the first thing we do is pull the barrel and do all the work to it. We have several different barrel makers that we work with, and they'll come with the bore cut in it, the outside profile done, and then we end up cutting our proprietary barrel connection, doing the chamber work, and all of that is dialed in to where everything is machined perfectly to the axis of the bore. And so we do the chamber end, do the muzzle work. We build our own muzzle brakes, and so we we'll time those onto the barrel, blend them so that they're a seamless connection. And then after we do the barrel, we have a whole library of different barrels, different actions, all different things that we can inlet a stock for. And so we'll go through, get the stock set up, and then we have a 2-part bedding process that it goes through, and then we have Cerakote in-house now, and so we have a full library of different Cerakote options. And then once we do that, we put the whole thing together and take it to the range, and like Aaron was saying, we validate every single rifle, We will do full load development for customers as well. So we'll actually, using the bullet of your choice, get that thing to where it'll shoot sub-quarter minute grooves consistently.
Wow.
And it's a really cool process. I really enjoyed being part of it.
I think we ought to point out too, Matt, that the chamber work on these barrels is done on a CNC lathe, not a manual lathe, and so that's where a lot of that repeatability comes from also.
Sure.
We've been able to really dial that in, especially after 7 years of doing this.
Yeah.
We get the same thing every single time. So,
well, an interesting concept. We were looking at that Cerakoted barrel that was fluted that had the muzzle brake that was literally looked seamless, right? Mm-hmm. And you were talking about how the flutes are lined up and the timing and the symmetry and the axle of the barrel and how you do that. You were talking about how you can never cut a piece of steel straight perfect every time, but what you try to do is limit the variability of windage versus the variability of elevation. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we'll actually we'll get the barrel in the machine and dial it in on the breech end, and then take the indicator around to the backside of the machine and record and measure where that bend in the bore is basically, and then we'll actually machine the barrel connection so that it times on the receiver so that bend is straight north and south, and that way the further out to distance you go, you're not compounding windage error. It's all can be adjusted for in your dope for elevation.
Sure.
And I think that's something that very few people think is very important, but it really makes a difference the further you get out. And, the other thing is, we spend a lot of time just dialing the things in so they're perfectly straight. The setup on a single barrel can take a couple hours, and the actual machine time is a half hour. So you're really,
Sure.
spending that time getting that thing set up completely perfect. So when you start cutting on that piece of material, you're perfectly aligned to that bore.
Yeah.
And it just, that assembly builds from there with everything, perfectly straight.
What do they say? Measure twice, cut once, right? And this business is probably measured 8 times and cut once, right?
Yeah, I've spent more time staring at an indicator in this place than my whole career put together, probably.
well, it's measure, cut. Measure, cut again. Measure some more. Think
Yeah.
about it, cut some more.
Yeah.
It's you watch everything as it's going through, because even as you cut, stuff can move. So you've got to be aware of those things. Watch out for those things.
Yeah. And I mean, to guarantee 0.25, I mean, you can't be a run-of-the-mill, run these things through in 2 hours and get them done. It can't happen, right? It requires that keen eye for detail and that time put in to make sure that what's coming out, the output is a 0.25 or better,
Yeah.
right? In Ryan's case, something that's just crazy, a 0.11. I mean, that's just incredible, right? That something can come out of a shop made in America, which is an awesome thing, by the way, but that can be made here in America and shoot like that with those tolerances is incredible. So, again, that's just a tribute to the work that you guys do. So maybe we'll bring Mike in a little bit here. He's been kind of quiet, but, so Drew talked a little bit about, axial precision, and you look around the building, and it's cool because you see the history of the building here. You see axial precision in here, which that was the napkin idea, right? And now 7 years later, rebranded. I remember you and I talked about it, and I said, man, anytime you rebrand, the amount of work and energy that goes into that, is it really worth it? And I'm going to tell you the stuff that I'm seeing really more on social media. It's incredible, the leaps and bounds that you guys have taken since the days that I knew Drew years ago and his dad in the booth, back in the sheep show and 5-6 years ago. You guys have done a lot of great things. Maybe you can expand on some of that stuff, Mike.
Sure, and you're absolutely right. Rebranding is a big step to take to change the company name, and particularly when you have the investment that Drew's got in it, and Aaron's been with him for a long time, and some of the other guys. There's a you have that investment and you have that emotional attachment to it. So as a marketing marketing guy coming in from strictly the outside and coming in from a marketing point of view, it was when I was first contacted by Drew and his dad, it was like I can't pronounce this axial precision, and I just stumbled over it and stumbled over it and stumbled over it.
Engineers thinking of names for things again, like geez.
And then it's like, so what does axial precision mean? What is it? And then getting that explanation, and so and understanding that the company, again, I've been in this industry for 40 some years, and I had never heard of it, and it was a young company, but and Drew admits this is we weren't doing marketing, we weren't doing a lot of things, but it's still I think I've got a pretty good beat on pulse on the industry, and so I went to him and I said, guys, how happy are you with the name? And they're like, well, not really, nobody can pronounce, and they said the same thing that I was saying, it's hard to pronounce and this, that, and the other, and I said, well, now's if you're ever going to change it, now is the time to change it. And God bless them, they agreed. Drew, it was a hard pill to swallow, I think. But we picked the name Altera is pretty cool because that was the flagship model. That was the first rifle, the flagship that the company was made on was the Altera, and we still have the Altera steel and the Altera carbon. But so we got that, so I thought it might be a little bit easier for to number one to pronounce, but then to recognize, and all the marketing stuff, looking at logos and design and all those other kinds of things. So we did that, and it's as you said, I think we're seeing a lot of name recognition, and we're gaining a lot of ground on it. But along with that was what we, again, as a marketer, you look for what is setting us apart from every other bolt-action rifle. And again, as I said in the opening, what hasn't already been done to a bolt-action rifle? So how do we set ourselves apart? And as I was doing that evaluation and learning about the product, some things that were just astounding to me, and they're very technical. I'll let those guys address it if we have that time. But at the end of the day, I said, hey, all that stuff is really great, and I get it, kind of. I'm not an engineer, but what does it do for me? I'm a big game Western hunter. Yeah. That's our clientele.
Bring it down to my fifth grade reading level, right?
What is that? And I get the 3-point lock. I get all of that stuff, kind of. But what does it do for me? And at the end of the day, what Drew and company told me is when our rifles leave the shop, we guarantee they will shoot sub-quarter inch with our hand-loaded ammunition that we develop, that the rifle will shoot 0.5 inch with factory ammunition, that it'll shoot different bullet weights without significantly affecting the accuracy, and it'll not fail to cycle. That, I hope the listeners let that sink in for a minute, because anybody that is into precision shooting, long-range hunting, long-range shooting, whatever, we all know how difficult it is to find one single load to shoot really well in a rifle. And because of the patented designs, to be able to come out with a rifle that can do what I just said, what we absolutely unconditionally guarantee it'll do, is unbelievable.
Well, who's doing that?
No one.
Right.
Absolutely no one.
Yeah.
Now, there are some custom gun rifle manufacturers out there that will guarantee unconditional. I don't know what they're guaranteeing.
Yeah.
We guarantee 100% of your satisfaction. Okay, so we're guaranteeing the 100% satisfaction, but within that are quarter inch with custom loads, half inch with factory, shoot different weight bullets without affecting accuracy, and it won't jam.
Fail.
No other rifle manufacturer on the planet can make that claim. And further, we went and said, try it for 90 days. If you don't like it, send it back. Any reason. We'll refund your money 100%. You know how many we've got back?
How many of those you got back?
That would be, you mean total, altogether, complete? That'd be a 0. So, and that's, I'm kind of at the end of my career in this industry, but to see this opportunity and get on with a company that's growing that can do that was just too good of an opportunity for me to pass up.
Sure.
And the other tribute to what we're doing is we have brought on some incredible people in the industry. Dan Rice from Vista Outdoors, who is our VP of Sales, he's come on. Dennis Van Aker, that's our president of Vice President of Production. We just brought on as our general manager Todd Harney that came over here from Kuyu. I mean, we have people saying, a year ago, not very many people have heard of us. Now we have got some significantly experienced people in this industry that say, I want to come work for you guys. And that's pretty big, in my estimation. So, and it all starts with the product and what it's capable of doing. And it's phenomenal.
Well, this, as you guys know, this industry's, it's big, but it's so small, and reputation is everything. And once reputation is tarnished, it's so hard to get that back, whether it's hunting, whether it's gun manufacturing, whether it's what have you. But, to your point, I mean, you go to these shows and there are so many gun manufacturers. I mean, they're like knife makers. There's 5 new ones every day built. But again, I think what you talk about is, what's in it for me? What does it do for me? But how do we set ourselves apart? And when you can throw out numbers like that and basically have a defect rate of 0 coming back, that's pretty impressive, right? And that's how you need to talk about name recognition and people wanting to come work for you. They know that and they see that and they want to be a part of that, right? It's something special, right? You guys definitely have something special.
Well, and the other thing that really impressed me as a consumer was all of those accuracy guarantees and functional guarantees come in a rifle. I think my rifle's finished weight is 7.1 pounds with Leupold VX5, 3 to 15 on it. So it's a 20-ounce scope.
So you think about most backpack country hunts where, you've been on long-range hunts. We've all done them where food, water, things become very important, and a 11, 12, 13-pound rifle lugging on there, you can cut that weight in half. That's a big deal, right? Especially when you got guys cutting, the ends off their toothbrushes when they're counting weight. So weight's a whole other thing that on the table that's just impressive what these rifles will do. And when I hold one, it's light, but it feels like a big, massive, heavy rifle. And I like to sit behind a heavy. I just like the genesis of a heavy rifle. But when
it feels real. It doesn't feel like a little, Some of these get so light they just don't feel like. Is this a real rifle?
But when you guys released the Mountain Shadow at Sheep Show 3-4 years ago ish,
something like that.
3 years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago, I remember I was at the show when you guys had one there, and I remember just holding it and feeling it. Now it was in right hand, which we're going to talk about that later, but I'll get you guys off. But it was in right hand, but I was holding it. I'm like, this feels like a rifle, like it, and it was sub 7 pounds, or it was just ridiculous. It's like, how can you take something that shoots so well and lighten it to that point and get it to shoot as well as it does? And so maybe speaking of that, talking about lightweight technology, maybe you can talk a little bit about what makes the rifles so light and how you guys can build a rifle like that. Oh, we got the Boise salute going here.
So first of all, when we sat down and said, hey, we want to build a light rifle, there was light rifles on the market already, but they were kind of like you were saying, you picked them up, you felt like you were holding a kid's gun. They just made everything smaller to get rid of that weight. So we decided, well, we're going to figure out how to build something that's structurally sound, but full bodied. It's going to be the same size, same feel, everything. And that, it really starts with the stock. The stock we manufacture is probably the lightest one on the market as far as what we can get it down to. I think we've had some of them down to 20 ounces if we really get after it.
Wow. That's incredible.
Not something that, don't call us and ask for a 20-ounce stock, because I probably won't sell it to you. They make funny noises and they do weird things, but we've had them that low.
Yeah, but that's generally one of the heavier pieces of the firearm, right, is a stock, right?
Yeah,
just
generally.
a big, heavy, whether it's a wooden stock or even synthetic, that's where a lot of your weight sits in a rifle.
So, you start with the 20-ounce stock. Everything in the metalwork has been considered too. What needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there. Some of the original Mountain Shadows were a pinned recoil lug rather than integral, and they had a titanium recoil lug. We use a titanium brake on the Mountain Shadow. We just figured out where we could drop weight every place without dropping any of the functionability of the rifle, and got it down to where we're coming in with a full-bodied rifle that is averaging 6 pounds unscoped. Wow. And obviously we're utilizing carbon we're also utilizing that in the barrel. We've We've been working with Proof for years. We've been working, over the last year, we tested every carbon fiber barrel on the market and ended up with, we're bringing our own.
Cool.
We've played with that technology a little bit and figured out how to make it better, lighter, and so hopefully, what do we think, May or June, we'll be introducing the Altera carbon barrel.
Wow, that's exciting.
And that barrel we're also moving to the gain twist technology with that. So we're going to be utilizing that. But that barrel is lighter than any carbon barrel available on the market right now, and still shoots to our accuracy guarantee. So,
wow.
I mean, like I said, we just looked at everything we possibly could and said, where can we take this weight out without reducing the functionality? And this is where we ended up.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of manufacturers can shave weight in a lot of areas, and you'll see the quality diminish, right? It's kind of the point of diminishing returns, right? How much are you going to lose in weight versus quality of what you're putting out there? And that goes for a lot of things. I mean, you think of anything ultralight, but to be able to do that and again, to guarantee what you guys are putting out, it's pretty incredible. And I mean, I don't know of any other companies that are doing that to that level of tolerance, right down to, I mean, you said, what do you say, 20 ounces? 20 ounces on a stock. I mean, now granted, not shoot the best,
yeah,
but
well, and that's the other thing.
It'll still meet our guarantee.
Which not many can even do that, right?
It's not the quality that's really the question. I mean, you can cut stuff out and still do a quality job. You're not going to get the functionality of the counterpart, though.
Okay.
So it's really the functionality we were looking at. A heavy rifle is easier to shoot. It dampens the shot better. It's easier to manage. So all the way to the geometries of our stock, it's made to be lightweight and still be able to manage that rifle and shoot it accurately. The materials we use to fill our stock are there because they do a very good job at dampening that shot, that recoil, the harmonics that can run through a rifle, but yet they're still lightweight. And that was, test after test after test of different component mixes of that material to find the one that was the lightest one that gave us the functionality that we were looking for. Mm-hmm. So,
wow. And the other thing, kind of go along with your point, Lucas, is, there's a lot of people out there, custom gun builders, but for the most part, they're assembling parts that are bought by every other gun builder. So they don't really have the capability or the wherewithal to be able to modify the parts to get them down to the weight that they need, or to have geometry that makes them more shootable. And that's one of the things that we wanted to be able to do, is control our supply chain, control the engineering, to be able to control the end product and the results that we get out of these guns. And we've basically done that with vertical integration. We're bringing almost everything in-house, all the way from stocks now to barrels. And we didn't just want to do another knockoff stock, another knockoff barrel. We got 3 patents in the receivers, like I was telling you. Everything we do is not just to be another Me Too. It's designed for a purpose, to have more functionality, better performance, and therefore better customer shooting experience.
When you think about vertical integration, especially in a time right now when you look at supply chain, so maybe we'll go down this rat hole, right? Right now trying to find, whether it's a barrel or you're talking about optics, just trying to get a scope from, whoever, Huskama or Night Force or whatever. I mean, so these are all things that are obviously, you guys don't make optics, but building the rifle itself, if you're relying on so many other companies, that can obviously increase your time of assembling and building these rifles, right? So bringing it in-house allows you to probably get more rifles input, output out the door quicker.
Yeah, so we vertically integrated not because we wanted to, or even in some cases we maybe didn't even have the cash flow to legitimize it, but we also didn't have the cash flow to not do it. If you have to wait 6-8 months to get a stock, and it looks the same as the guy next to you and it shoots the same as the guy next to you, then it doesn't really do us any good.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we've done is, one, we don't get the performance out of buying something off the shelf, so we've had to vertically integrate to be able to get the results that we wanted.
Yeah. And the downside now is, I mean, when you guys talk about load development, getting brass, getting primers, getting powder, getting bullets, I mean, for the average consumer like Ryan or I, it's almost impossible. I'm sure you guys have better access to it, but all that stuff puts, like I say, barriers in the process and building. And you were talking about optics, right? Getting a Night Force scope right now is months out, right, to get that process done, which that's just a factor of the environment we're in right now, unfortunately. And hopefully that stuff, right, works itself out and it gets back to a little bit more of a normal pace. But that probably slows down the production time, I'm assuming, on your guys' rifles from the time it comes in, from the time it gets ordered till the time it goes out the door.
I mean, we have orders in now that are not even being started because we know we're not going to see the optic we need to finish that order for 8 to 12 months.
Wow.
So even though, and we let the customer know, this optic choice puts you here, and they're okay with that. But, we don't start building that rifle yet, because why let it sit here and collect dust until that optic shows up?
Sure. So let's say you got an optic on the shelf here. Guy puts in an order and wants to build let's say a 308. What's kind of the, I would say, just average run time to get a rifle from start to finish out?
So if we were talking about there's nothing in the queue, all the components are here, ready to go. We probably have a rifle done in 4 or 5 days, but that'd be one rifle. So when you start talking about we're doing multiple rifles through, our average lead times when components are here, the market's not going through like it is right now, we can get anything we need. You're about 2 to 3 months for a build.
Okay.
And that's just with our current workload. But like I said, if it was something where the queue was completely empty and we had everything here, it would probably take us about 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And most of that's cure time for stuff. Bedding a rifle, it sits 24 hours.
Epoxy's got a cure on stocks.
With the Cerakote's got to, cook and bake and stuff like that. So that 4 or 5 days isn't actual 4 or 5 days of a
hard
guy
labor, right?
Touching that rifle. A lot of that time is
setting up.
It's setting or curing, yeah.
Well, and on top of that, you do, no rifle leaves here without being shot, not only shot, but having the barrel broken in, which could take 100, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but 100 rounds or whatever that is. But I think it's an important thing to note that we don't just build a rifle. When we finish it, we ship it out. That thing goes through rigorous range time to break in that barrel, to get the velocities where we need to on that, and then to make sure that we're documenting and certifying the accuracy, so that we can send those targets to the customer with the rifle, so that they have confidence. Yeah, these guys did what they said that they could do.
Sure.
And and to Ryan's point, some of them go, well, I'll never be able to shoot that good, but I'm comforted in knowing that if I miss it, it ain't the rifle, it's me.
Yeah.
We probably got to clarify a little bit there.
Okay, please do.
No rifle will leave with less than 20 rounds.
Okay.
So if a customer has an order at low development or something like that, we're going to do about 20 rounds down that rifle, and that's a rough break-in of the barrel and get the accuracy verified.
Yeah.
If a customer orders load development, it could be anywhere from 100 to 300 rounds, because every barrel speeds up after so long, and so we actually shoot it until we measure that speed up before we actually start load development.
Sure. And let's say someone is just hell-bent for shooting copper, right, or wants to build a weapon with, let's say it's Barnes or whatever, and this gun isn't shooting Barnes, like, as an example. Or let's say he says, I want to shoot burgers as an example, and it's not shooting burgers well. I mean, will you guys try to fit the bullet to the barrel, or will you guys cross-engineer or reverse-engineer that to where this is the bullet that's best for that barrel?
If a customer comes to us with a specific bullet that he likes, or maybe it's a specific weight, something like that, we know what barrels work good with that bullet, what barrels don't, which barrels like what weights. But with our technology, it's not really an issue. Now, if they come to us with a specific bullet, we're going to do the load development around that bullet. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we found one we can't get to shoot yet. I mean, short of, cheap, crimp bullets that we use for like breaking and stuff. Sometimes they don't, paint a half-inch group, but any premium or quality bullet, we get it to shoot.
Yeah. Well, a lot of states now you're seeing, no lead, copper only. So you're seeing these transformations. I don't know if you guys are seeing that a little bit here, but I mean, in California, it's a lead only state. So, we're kind of forced into shooting, bullets that may not have the BCs that lead do, or have the maybe perform as well as lead does. But we're still seeing some pretty good, the manufacturers are making some pretty good cartridges, even with copper today. So
Yeah, some of our best shooting guns are copper bullets. You do get you get a lot more accuracy out of a CNC machined or Swiss screw machined, turned bullet.
I mean, the disadvantage of the mono is usually just not as much weight behind it. So that's why you're not seeing the BC there. But those bullets will fly more consistent. They might have more drop to them, but they'll fly more consistent than a jacketed bullet almost every time. Sure. So it's no issue to do the all copper only rounds for customers that want that.
So we're at close to 50 minutes. Amazing how fast time flies, but it's great having these conversations. So I'm not a rifle guy. I mean, I've pretty much made bow hunting my passion for the last 20 years, but I'm seriously interested in what you guys have been doing, and I've been giving Drew crap for years because I'm a left eye dominant guy. So I most of the guns I have are actually left-handed chambered because I bought them specifically to fit me, because I've never been able to find a right-handed action bolt gun that's fit me well. But you guys are now building in left-handed actions, is that correct?
So as you saw as you came in today, I'm wrapping up the fixtures for the left-handed bolt. We've already produced the left-handed receiver. Obviously, we've got the left-handed stock we introduced
several months ago.
Yeah, like 6 months ago. The left-handed action is right around the corner. It's short a bolt right now, which I'm working on. Right now. So
there's really...
But we can take your deposit tonight. That's no problem.
I know how that works. I know how that goes. No. But there's really nothing short of anything you guys can't do, I guess is my point. I mean, if someone comes to you and says, I need a left-handed this, a right-handed whatever, you guys are a full-service facility that can do that.
Yeah.
Or will be able to do that.
And we'll be adding some stuff on too. Like right now, we're limited in some of the bolt face options, but that is only because we haven't made them. We can make them, we just haven't done it yet. So there's some limitations there.
We're limited on brass too, like ammo components.
Sure.
We've been able to secure a pretty good supply of some of it, but that's another rat hole that we're kind of peering down.
And that's a conversation that's had with the customer right now. If a guy comes to us and wants a 300 PRC right now, we pretty much have to let him know, hey man, no brass, and we don't know when. So we can build that for you, but we have no idea when we can ship it because it's not leaving here until we test it.
Or at least limiting the amount of ammo, just because people can't find it on the shelves, so they come to us and say, I want 1,500 rounds of this ammo, and they think that that's just going to appear with us or whatever. But I mean, we'll take the order for that, and produce it as we get it. But that's definitely something that we're kind of peering down, is trying to even maybe look at brass production.
Yeah, so. And I think, we're in a society of the right now society. I want everything right now. And, I've never seen the restraints that we've had on ammunition components in my entire career. It's just unbelievable. Not only ammo, but the optics, like we talked about, et cetera. And I think the consumer is now is seeing that from their own experience. They go into Cabela's or Sports Warehouse or whatever, and the shelves are devoid of any ammo at all. So our customers are starting to realize, I get it. We're not the stumbling blocks. We would love to get you that rifle out in 5 days, but it just isn't going to
not
happen
realistic.
because of those things, because we don't have the components. And so now we're seeing them, more willing to wait. Part of the problem does come in, though, that, I think any custom rifle builder that you would talk to today on a podcast would say the earlier you get your order in, the better chance we have of delivering it. And so many people wait, well, I'm going to start thinking about my fall hunting season now. So they come in June, July and say, hey, I need a rifle.
By August or September.
And it's like, in many cases, that is not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
And we're not going to cut corners to make it happen. So, if there's some flexibility in, okay, I really want a 6.5 PRC, but I'd be willing to take it in 6.5 Creedmoor. That's a whole different delivery date.
Sure. And you probably got brass for the Creedmoor, so.
There's a lot of that. I mean, if a customer wants to sit down and have the conversation, we can tell him what we have and what's ready and could get him the quickest lead time.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of tough to do. You're going to spend this kind of money on a custom rifle. You want what you want. And if it was me, I'd wait.
Sure.
I'd wait. But also, if it's close enough, if we've got something's close enough, I mean, we're happy to do that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ryan's here, kind of a testament to this. I mean, he ordered a 308, and there's going to be a lot of listeners out there going, why in the world a 308? It is certainly not the sexiest caliber out there. And I'm not sure, was this the first Mountain Shadow we've chambered in that we sold in 308?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Ryan's the first. He's a unicorn.
It's not even offered on the website.
Yeah. So
he's often told that too.
And that 308 will kill a lot of games.
Well, Ryan and I have talked. If he gets stranded somewhere out of the country in Africa, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to have 308 at the camp, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of those rounds, right, that you could probably find universally anywhere. And if you got in a pinch, you could probably find some 308. What happens if you're overseas in New Zealand and you got a 300 PRC?
Yeah.
Good luck. Or a 28 Nosler.
And your ammo didn't show up on the flight.
And your ammo didn't show up. You're probably, you're...
Well, and a lot of the
Or
reasons...
if you're in a Cabela store.
Exactly.
New
Zealand, Cabela store, neither one of them have ammo.
A lot of reasons the guys shy away... That guys shy away from calibers like the 308 is, well, it's not known to be as accurate as a 6.5 Creedmoor or the new PRCs or this, that, or the other. Well,
but
not
it
an
shot
issue.
.11.
Yeah. Proving that theory.
I mean, short of, that's not going to hit the velocities of a bigger 30 cal cartridge, but it's going to carry enough energy far enough, and it's going to hit what you aim at if you know your rifle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be fine.
Well, and we're going to see if we can take it out to 1,120 yards tomorrow.
Let's take it to a mile tomorrow. Let's do it.
Let's see.
Well, we shot
We'll
it.
see what Travis can set up
A couple
for
weeks
us.
ago, Ryan got it. He called me. He goes, "Hey, I got the gun. Let's go run some ammo through it." And Kyle came out and we were shooting and just incredible. I mean, we were just shooting factory ammo. I don't even know what grain was it, 150 or
150 grain Federal Power Shock.
Yeah. And had a bit of a crosswind and it just shooting sweet. I mean, just absolutely sweet.
Yeah, and I do think we need to mention too the and I know you're going to do another podcast with at the shooting school tomorrow, but that is something else that I think is really important that we mention. A lot of our guys say, well, so what? Your rifles will shoot a mile. I can't. Well, you have the opportunity to learn how to do that through Travis Woodbury's school. And we work very closely with Travis. And on top of that too, we also have another a pretty cool opportunity with our AllTerra experience. Customers can order their rifle, come here to the shop, completely assemble it, from parts all the way to the scope and everything, and then go out and shoot it and attend a 1 or 2 day class, which kind of gives a pretty cool effect. When you're hunting, when you're in hunting camp and everybody's talking about their rifles, it's like, man, I went there and I put this baby together myself, and I learned how to shoot it.
And by the way, if I'm on the mountain and something happens, I might have a better idea what I need to do to fix it because I remember
part of the experience.
I remember how I assembled it. Right?
It's almost like an armory course. You're going to go through and see how to assemble it, understand what everything is, what it does, why it's important, what it's going to do, and then also your maintenance periods on stuff. You're going to see all of that firsthand, and not just see it in some manual. You get to do it, touch it, feel it, so you feel comfortable when it's time to do it again.
Yeah. Well, and everything you guys are talking about, I think, is you don't have to have the punchline, what sets you apart from your competitors, what makes you better. I mean, everything y'all talk about are reasons why I think you guys have set yourself apart, right? I mean, how many of your competitors can you go into their facility and assemble and then go through a 2-day shooting course and really understand how the gun shoots, right? How it feels, what the trigger pull is. I mean, all those things are so important when you're going to invest. Like you said, people are investing a lot of money in this. I want to probably get the product that I want, but to be able to have the whole experience, I think, is all a part of the experience in which you guys provide, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, closing comments. Like I say, we're closing in on an hour here, and I know it's Friday night, and we got a shoot tomorrow in the rain, potentially, which we talked about it. You know what? It's like, I don't know that I've ever hunted where it didn't rain and when the wind wasn't blowing and it was miserable, and it just kind of adds a little bit of authenticity to it. So we're excited about that. But I don't know, any closing thoughts, comments about what we've talked about, the name, the brand, the direction you guys are going, anything you guys want to share?
Well, just on my part, just kind of the new guy, being here just a year and kind of being on the other side of the aisle in marketing. I think the thing that impresses me the most about Drew and Aaron and Matt's team, Justin and Walter and everybody else that has a part in putting these rifles together and building these is and I don't want to make this sound cliche, but it's the best description I can have, a relentless commitment to doing it right. And there's no corners cut, it's just absolutely refused to do it. And, sometimes I think, well, is that really a big deal? It is. It really, really, really is the smallest part. And I see it all the time in them. And, talk about tenacious. And, I think relentless is the best term that I can use. We're relentless in providing the best rifle on the planet.
Well, every time we ship a rifle, it's like sending your kid to college. I mean, you get to know these guns as they go through the shop.
You get attached to them.
You
don't want to see them go.
There's definitely been rifles that we've put together that have brought me close to tears as they shipped out, because I'm like, I want that one.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you put your heart and soul into something and you have that much passion around something, that's what makes the product what it is, right? If it was running through a factory and your piece was to assemble this and it moves on, you have no connection to that piece of equipment, right? In a Toyota factory, I mean, they might see the Camry go through, but all they did was, put the hubcaps on. I mean, they don't have a connection. You guys, small company, right? Line of sight, you guys all, I mean, like you said, you clean the golf balls, and you also, clean the bathroom and Drew and sweep the shop at night. But that's what makes this authentic to me, is that you guys really are at the ground level and all the way from the top down. And you see that, and the connection, I think, is pretty cool. Yeah,
it's a fun experience, and we have a good time every day. We got a great team in here. Everybody gets along really well. There's always shenanigans and stuff like that going on, but, being able to watch these go together from, raw material to that finished product that leaves here, in my opinion, one of the most exceptional rifles in the world. And it's just fun every day for us to experience that, and also hear from the customers afterwards and how excited they are when they get it and they get out and shoot it. And it's really nice to hear from those guys, especially to know that we did a good job, and all that time and effort we put into it paid off. So
we had a couple guys who came in and did the Altera experience with us, and a week or two after they took the rifle home and spent some time with it, he sent us an email with these 2 pictures of these just killer groups. And he said, these are the 2 best groups I ever shot in my life, and I shot them back to back with your gun. And there's just nothing makes you feel better, man. And just not ever willing to compromise, what we're putting out. And, it's really good to, have this team that understands that, hey, we said we were going to ship it this day and it wasn't quite ready. It'll ship when it is. And we haven't had anybody who, was unhappy when, the final product got to them.
Showed up at their door, yeah.
That's definitely the coolest part, is seeing the customers year after year, and they come back time and time again. We have one guy that just bought his 5th rifle, and just there's like a personal connection because they get to talk to us. It's not a giant company. We still have like the personal experience with the customers, but 2, they recognize that we're not cutting corners. We're actually telling them what they're getting, and they know what they're getting, and then they get to see and talk to us at the different trade shows and whatever else, and they end up being our like biggest sales force is because they're so excited to show pictures of the animals they shot at distance or whatever, or the really small groups that they shot out of their gun, and then they end up just talking to everybody else around about how excited they are to have that. And I think that's one of my favorite parts is seeing like the fruits of your effort, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you guys know customer satisfaction is the biggest part of the game. And if what you're sending people and they're not happy with it and you're getting stuff turned back, I mean, it's a testament to what you guys are doing, right, and the product that you guys are putting out. And, I know on my behalf, I'm just excited to be here in Boise. I'm excited for the weekend, and it was cool that we could loop this part of the kind of the experience together. And like I said, it's good to see Drew again and reconnect.
For sure.
I think you were at my birthday one year at the sheep show. We went out to dinner and your dad was there, and I think there was a few alcoholic beverages consumed that night, maybe a few.
I think 2.
I think that was my 30th birthday a couple of years ago, but anyway.
We got some stories about that one.
Yeah, that's right. But no, it's been fun. It's been fun watching you guys grow, and it's exciting. Who knows, in 5 years, you guys will probably be growing out of this building and into something different, and hopefully
5 months.
5 months.
5 months. Yeah, we're
going to 5 years.
I mean,
you see my office, it's cell block A.
It was
You
5
heard about
months
that.
ago. 5 months ago, we grew out of this building.
Yeah, we saw the Connex out there, the blast-proof double wide that Mike's subjected to.
That's my luxury, executive office out there with the bars on the window and all that.
We just did that because Mike smells funny. So
And it reminds me of being in California.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, ow, touche, Matthew.
You got your Idaho license now?
I have my Idaho license.
You guys are 100%
I have my
residents.
Idaho license plates. The first thing my wife and I did when we got here, and we are Idahoans.
Good move. Good move.
Yeah, so all you Californians stay out. Now that I'm no longer one.
You ready, Ryan, to exercise that finger?
Let's do it.
So the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is I'm just going to throw this out there, but left-handed bolt action, 7 mag. That's something that I might be interested in. So
okay, let me get my pen and I'll just take that credit card number.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So anyway, appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for having us. Thanks for
Lucas,
hosting us today.
thanks for coming.
Oh yeah,
thanks, Lucas.
no, absolutely. This is great. Thank you guys, and we'll be in touch, and hopefully the next couple days we'll be able to share some good experiences, and I'll be sitting behind his rifle a little bit, so I'm excited about that too. So. Good deal.
We're excited for you.
Thanks guys.
Lucas.
Great talking to you guys. All right, take care. Hey listeners, this is Lucas Paw, host of the RNA Outdoors podcast. Check out our website at rnaoutdoors.com to find all of our podcast platforms. Go listen today where you podcast. Additionally, leave a review and a 5-star rating. These reviews help boost our popularity and outreach. You can also follow us on our social media outlets, Instagram at Rod and Arrow Outdoors, Facebook, RNA Outdoors, and YouTube, RNA Outdoors. All links are in the show notes as well. We hope you'll pass along our channel to your friends and colleagues. Subscribe today and follow along on the journey.